Liberty Nation with Tim Donner.
Say what? Say what? Say what? One more time.
We kick things off with our signature segment, Say What, where we roll out a virtual assembly line of wacky, astonishing, damnable, and ultimately revealing things uttered by politicians in the chattering class. Not hard to pick this week's most ridiculous quote. Remember John Brennan, the CIA director under Barack Obama and the man at the center of the scandal which never got resolved during the Trump era? Spying on the Trump campaign and then trying to cut the knees out from under Trump once he got into office? Well, this week, following claims by Trump followers about what caused the Capitol riot on January 6th that kicked in his Trump derangement syndrome afresh, Brennan condemned not just Trump or his followers, or most of the GOP, except for today's most prominent rhinos like Mitt Romney, Republicans in name only, but his own entire race and gender.
Well, I must say I'm increasingly embarrassed to be a white male these days, in light of what I see of my other white males saying. But it just shows that with very few exceptions, like Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, there are so few Republicans in Congress who value truth, honesty, and integrity. And so they'll continue to gaslight the country the way that Donald Trump did. It is just a disgusting display of craven politics that really should have no place in the United States in 2021.
So there you have it. John Brennan lecturing us on truth, honesty, and integrity. Talk about chutzpah. He's ashamed to be white, ashamed to be a man, and more than anxious and willing to carry on his deranged crusade, even with Trump resting at home in Florida instead of tormenting Brennan and his ilk from the White House. Maybe he's just got nothing better to do, doesn't know how to carry on, lost his way, with Trump no longer front and center to kick around. But thanks to the paranoia of Brennan and his fellow travelers on the left, the capital of the United States remains locked down, like a cross between a war zone and a banana republic, even though, as the top Republican of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes, observed, this is not about security, it's pure theater designed to exaggerate the threat.
This is nothing compared to the threats that we've seen over the last 2 decades since 9/11, 2001, of radical Islamic potential attacks on the Capitol and the targeting of politicians and other government buildings. So what this is really about, this is a Hollywood production scene. So nobody's in Washington, D.C. You can't find anybody. Nobody's on the streets. The restaurants are mostly closed. So this is all about narrative building. What they want to do is they want to label every conservative and Republican across this country as some type of dangerous domestic terrorist threat. I think it's going to blow up in their face. It looks worse than a third world country.
So, March 4th, the day where this supposed insurrection was supposed to occur, came and went, nothing happened. But still, National Guard troops, fences, barbed wire, locking down what we used to call the People's House and several blocks around it. How long can they justify this wartime footing? Meanwhile, the walls continue to close in on the Democratic governors of the nation's 2 largest states. In California, Gavin Newsom faces a recall, with organizers claiming they've surpassed the 1.5 million signatures needed to put the recall on the ballot. And the heat really got turned up on the riches to rags governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, this week. Not only is he on the skillet for false reporting of nursing home deaths during the pandemic, but 3 women have now come forward claiming sexual harassment. And you know a guy's in trouble when members of his own party start calling for impeachment, as happened with Democratic State Senator Julia Salazar from Brooklyn.
I think he's just too compromised to continue in his position.
Is impeachment the best remedy?
I think that we have to use every remedy and every mechanism at our disposal. I think it's very clear to the public that he has deliberately abused his power, both his expanded executive powers in the state of emergency, but also his power over his employees.
Cuomo, of course, has denied any improper sexual conduct, but the ferocious New York State Attorney General Letitia James, also a Democrat, has launched an investigation. At this point, Governor Cuomo needs to outlive not one but two scandals, and probably ought to be asked that famous question from the Southwest Airlines ad, want to get away? And the fallout goes beyond the New York governor to his brother, the outspoken Chris Cuomo, on CNN, who famously joked around with his brother on air and propped him up when he was heralded as a star of the pandemic last summer. But now, with his brother edging closer and closer to impeachment or resignation, Chris is washing his hands.
Obviously, I'm aware of what's going on with my brother. And obviously, I cannot cover it because he is my brother. Now, of course, CNN has to cover it. They have covered it extensively, and they will continue to do so.
Objectively, I'm sure. Meanwhile, the man who tormented and was tormented by leftists like Cuomo in what he calls the fake news media made his much anticipated return to the national stage. Donald Trump appeared before a raucous crowd at the premier event of the conservative year, the CPAC conference, and squelched one rumor early in his speech.
I want you to know that I'm going to continue to fight right by your side. We're not starting new parties. You know, they kept saying, he's going to start a brand new party. We have the Republican Party. It's going to unite and be stronger than ever before. I am not starting a new party.
Okay, so he'll remain a Republican, easily the most influential one in the country. And as definitive as he was about not starting a new party was as tantalizing as he was about the prospects of running for president one more time.
With your help, we will take back the House. We will win the Senate. And then a Republican president will make a triumphant return to the White House. And I wonder who that will be. I wonder who that will be.
Will he or won't he run a third time? Perhaps only his hairdresser knows for sure. For you young folk, that's from a famous old commercial. And if he does run, could Trump win 4 more years in the White House? Well, when you consider the state of the country right now, and even after the events of January 6th, the answer is maybe. How bad are things? Well, psychologist and author of the book, The Parasitic Mind, How Infectious Ideas Are Killing Common Sense, Gad Saad, lists many reasons why society is descending into what he calls an abyss of ultimate lunacy.
1. It is now racist for a white person to translate the work of a black person. 2. It is now homophobic for a straight actor to play a gay character. 3. It is now racist for a white therapist to treat a black client. 4. It is now racist to have advanced high school programs. 5. It is now transphobic for biological females to reject having to compete against trans women, i.e. biological males.
Common sense, if there is any left, remains the only cure for what Mr. Gad Saad calls ultimate lunacy. We'll have more from the psychologist and author in the weeks ahead.
Hi, I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Mark Angelides, Sarah Cowgill, Tim Donner, and Scott Cosenza, and this is Liberty Nation.
Now let's Let's take a look at the LibertyNation.com electoral leaderboard. It's still 238 for Joe Biden.
What if stories and legends can offer us the key to unraveling the hottest political issues of the day and apply their lessons to understanding the chaos of modern politics?
Impeach 45!
Only where freedom of speech is honored can people who look, sound, or think differently be truly free.
If you're discussing something that's difficult, the probability that you're not going to offend each other is zero.
President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Donald J. Trump is now president.
With one click, Liberty Nation delivers tomorrow's news.
And remember, liberty.
Today.
All the time and everywhere.
LibertyNation.com.